The knife was at Sophia's throat before she even saw him move. Choose. Alessio Moretti's voice was ice and razors in the darkness of her bedroom. Marco or me? Right now. Because in 60 seconds, one of us is walking out of this room, and the other is dying on this floor. Behind him, Marco stood with a gun trained on his brother's head, his finger trembling on the trigger. Don't do this, Alessio. Put the knife down. Why? So you can have her? So you can pretend you're the hero in this fucked up story. Alessio's grip tightened, the blade biting into Sophia's skin. She was mine first. The contract. The marriage. The claim. All mine. She's not property. In our world, everything is property. Including her. Including you. Alessio's dark eyes found Sophia's in the mirror across the room. So choose, Principessa. Who do you want to save? The man you were forced to marry, or the man you chose to betray him with? Sophia's heart slammed against her ribs. Blood trickled down her neck, warm. Damning evidence of how far this had spiraled beyond control. I choose Euro, she whispered. But to understand how Sophia Russo ended up with a knife to her throat, and her heart split between two brothers who'd kill each other over her. We need to go back to where it all started. 6 months earlier. The night her father gambled away more than just money. The night he gambled away her. Before we dive into this twisted tale of obsession, betrayal, and a love triangle that'll leave you breathless, if you're ready for dark mafia romance that doesn't hold back, hit that subscribe button. We're racing to 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you gets us closer. Now let's begin at the beginning. Sophia Russo had never set foot in her father's world. The gambling, the debts, the desperate deals with dangerous men, that was Antonio Russo's domain. And she'd been carefully sheltered from it her entire 24 years. Until the night the Morettis came to collect. She was working late at the art gallery she managed in downtown Chicago, cataloging a new collection of contemporary pieces, when her phone rang. Her father's lawyer. At 11 p.m. Nothing good ever came from lawyers calling at 11 p.m. Ms. Russo, your father has been in an accident. The hospital was chaos. Sophia pushed through the emergency room doors, her heart in her throat, and found her father's lawyer waiting not in the ICU, but in a private room on the top floor. The floor the hospital reserved for VIPs and criminals who needed security. Where is he? Sophia demanded. What happened? He's alive, Vincent Cardello said carefully. Too carefully. But there are complications. What kind of complications? The door behind her opened. 2 men walked in, and the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. The first was older, maybe 50, with silver at his temples and a face carved from Sicilian marble. Expensive suit. Colder eyes. He carried authority like a weapon. The second was younger, perhaps 30, and beautiful in the way dangerous things often are. Dark hair, darker eyes, and a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile years ago. He studied Sophia with the intensity of a predator deciding whether she was prey or threat. Ms. Russo, the older man said in heavily accented English. I am Don Vittorio Moretti. This is my son Alessio. We have business to discuss regarding your father's situation. Sophia's blood ran cold. The Morettis. She'd heard whispers, seen the name in news articles about organized crime investigations that never went anywhere. They were Chicago's ghost kings, untouchable, ruthless, and now standing in her father's hospital room. What did he do? She asked quietly. Your father borrowed $3 million from our family, Don Vittorio said bluntly. He promised to repay it with interest within 6 months. That deadline was yesterday. $3 million. Sophia's knees nearly gave out. I don't have that kind of money. We know. Which is why your father offered alternative payment. The Don's gaze was clinical, assessing. You. The room tilted. Excuse me. A marriage contract. Alessio spoke for the first time, his voice like silk over steel. You marry into the Moretti family. The debt is forgiven. Your father lives. Everyone wins. That's insane. This isn't the Middle Ages. No, Don Vittorio agreed. It's Chicago. And in our world, debts are paid one way or another. Your father chose this path. He signed the contract. All that's required now is your signature. And if I refuse? The Don's expression didn't change. Then your father's debt will be collected through more traditional means. He has 72 hours to produce $3 million, plus the additional $2 million in interest and penalties he's accrued. I believe his current net worth is roughly negative $400,000. You do the math, Ms. Russo. Sophia looked at her father's lawyer. This can't be legal. The contract is ironclad, Vincent said miserably. I reviewed it myself. Your father had the right to negotiate on your behalf as next of kin. If you refuse, the debt transfers to you upon his death, which given his current medical state and the pressure he's under would be very soon. So I'm damned either way. Not damned, Alessio said softly, stepping closer. Claimed. There's a difference. Sophia met his eyes, cold, calculating, completely devoid of empathy. This wasn't a man. This was a machine wrapped in expensive fabric, playing at humanity. You don't even know me, she whispered. I know everything about you, Sophia Maria Russo. Age 24. Art history degree from Northwestern. Manager at the Bellissimo Gallery. No criminal record, no outstanding debts, no romantic entanglements. His head tilted. You're perfect. Clean. Exactly what the family needs for the image we're building. I'm not a PR strategy. You're whatever I say you are. The silk in his voice turned to ice. Sign the contract, marry me, play the dutiful wife in public. In private, you stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours. It's a business arrangement. Nothing more. And if I make it more? The question came from her mouth before her brain could stop it. Alessio's eyes flashed with something dark and interested. Then you'll find out exactly how cold I can be when someone tries to complicate my life. Don Vittorio cleared his throat. You have until Monday morning to decide, Ms. Russo. Sign the contract or we collect the debt in blood. Your choice. They left like shadows, there and gone, leaving Sophia alone with the lawyer and a decision that would destroy her life no matter which path she chose. She made it to the bathroom before she vomited. Sophia signed the contract Sunday night. Not because she wanted to. Not because she saw any path to happiness. But because when she visited her father in his hospital bed, beaten, broken, machines breathing for him, she couldn't be the reason he died. Even if it meant signing her life away to a man who looked at her like she was a chess piece. The wedding was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Private ceremony, immediate family only, non-negotiable. Sophia spent those 2 weeks in a fog, going through the motions at work, avoiding her friends' questions, and ignoring the security detail that now followed her everywhere. Moretti soldiers, ensuring their investment didn't run. The night before the wedding, someone knocked on her apartment door at midnight. Sophia looked through the peephole and froze. Not Alessio. The other one from the hospital. But younger, different. Where Alessio was ice, this man was fire barely contained. Same dark hair, same Moretti features, but alive in a way Alessio wasn't. I know you're scared, he said through the door. But I need to talk to you. Please. Against every survival instinct, Sophia opened the door. He was taller than she remembered, and up close, the differences from Alessio were stark. This man smiled, a real, genuine expression that reached his eyes. I'm Marco, he said. Alessio's younger brother. Can I come in? That depends. Are you here to threaten me too? No. I'm here to apologize. He ran a hand through his hair, agitated. What my family's doing to you, it's wrong. Forcing you into this marriage, treating you like property. It's fucking medieval and I hate it. Sophia studied him, looking for the trap. Then why are you here? Because I can't stop it. But I can try to make it less awful. Marco pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is information. About Alessio, about the family, about what you're walking into. And this, he pulled out a phone. Untraceable. If you ever need help, if things get bad, you call the number programmed in there. I'll come. No questions asked. Why would you do this? Because somebody should. His eyes held hers, brown and warm and painfully sincere. You didn't choose this life, Sophia. The least I can do is give you a lifeline. He left as quickly as he came, leaving Sophia holding a phone and an envelope that felt like a lit bomb in her hands. That night, she read everything in the envelope. and discovered that Alessio Moretti wasn't just cold. He was a killer with 23 confirmed deaths attributed to his work as the family's enforcer. A man who'd tortured enemies, executed traitors, and built his reputation on fear. The man she was marrying tomorrow. Sophia barely made it to the bathroom before she vomited again. The wedding was a lie wrapped in expensive fabric. Sophia wore white virgin sacrifice to the altar of debt and blood. Alessio wore black, death himself playing groom. They spoke vows that meant nothing, signed papers that meant everything, and sealed their fate with a kiss so cold it burned. "You're mine now," Alessio murmured against her lips, too quiet for anyone else to hear. "Remember that." The reception was torture. Smiling for cameras, accepting congratulations from strangers who knew exactly what this marriage was, playing the happy bride while her new husband's hand on her waist felt like a shackle. Marco was there. She felt his eyes on her throughout the night, concerned, angry, protective in a way that made her chest ache. When Alessio stepped away to speak with his father, Marco materialized at her side. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "I just married a man who could kill me without blinking. What do you think?" "I think you're the bravest person in this room." His hand brushed hers, quick, warm, gone before anyone could see. "Remember what I said. You're not alone in this." "Marco." Alessio's voice cut across the room like a blade. "Stop monopolizing my wife." The word wife sounded like a threat. Marco's jaw clenched, but he smiled and stepped back. "Just welcoming her to the family, Fratello." "She doesn't need your welcome. She has mine." Alessio's arm snaked around Sophia's waist, pulling her flush against him. Claiming. Possessing. "Don't you, Cara?" Sophia forced herself to smile. "Of course." But she felt Marco's eyes on her as Alessio led her away. And something in her chest twisted painfully. The penthouse Alessio brought her to was a monument to wealth and emptiness. All glass and chrome and sharp edges, beautiful and soulless, just like its owner. "Your rooms are on the east wing," Alessio said, pouring himself a drink. Not offering her one. "You'll have complete privacy. I won't disturb you unless necessary for public appearances." "Separate rooms?" Sophia couldn't hide her relief. "Did you think I'd actually want to touch you?" His smile was cruel. "You're a means to an end, Sophia. My father wants me married to improve the family image, create the illusion of normalcy. You fulfill that requirement. Nothing more." It should have been a relief. Instead, it felt like an insult. "Then why the act?" she asked. "The possessive touches, the jealousy when Marco." "That wasn't jealousy." Alessio's eyes went flat. "That was a reminder. You're my wife. In public, you play the role. In private, you can hate me all you want. But you will never embarrass me by showing interest in another man. Especially not my brother." "I wasn't. Weren't you?" He stepped closer, invading her space with predatory intent. "I saw how you looked at him. Like he was a lifeline. A rescue. Let me be very clear. Principessa, there is no rescue. You signed a contract. You took vows. You're bound to me until death. And in my family, divorces don't happen. Widowhood does. Choose your path accordingly." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "You're a monster." "Yes. No dinayel, nos cham. But I'm your monster now. Get used to it." He left her standing in the cold penthouse, alone on her wedding night, and Sophia finally let herself cry. The first month of marriage was a masterclass in loneliness. Alessio kept his word. He left her alone except for required public appearances. Charity galas, family dinners, carefully staged photo opportunities. In those moments, he was the perfect husband. Attentive, protective, his hand always on her back or her waist, his eyes watching her with what looked like devotion. It was all performance. Ice-cold, calculated performance. At home, they were strangers occupying the same space. Ships passing in the night, if ships could hate each other. But Marco was different. He started showing up. Casual at first, just checking on my sister-in-law. Then more frequent. Coffee in the mornings when Alessio was gone. Lunch at the gallery where Sophia still worked. Late-night conversations on the penthouse balcony when neither of them could sleep. "You don't have to do this," Sophia told him one night, 3 weeks into her marriage. Check on me, I mean. I'm surviving. Surviving isn't living. Marco studied her in the moonlight, his expression troubled. And I can't just abandon you to him. He's your brother. He's a lot of things. Not all of them good. Marco's jaw clenched. Alessio wasn't always like this. When we were kids, before the family business consumed him, he was different. Protective. Kind even. But then Papa started training him to be the heir, and something in him just froze. Now he's what the family made him. A perfect soldier with no heart. And you? I'm the spare. The underboss who handles the parts of the business Alessio finds beneath him. Marco's smile was bitter. I get to keep my soul because I was never important enough to sacrifice it. Sophia reached out without thinking, her hand covering his. I'm glad you kept it. The air between them shifted, charged, dangerous. Marco's fingers threaded through hers, his thumb brushing over her knuckles in a gesture that felt infinitely more intimate than anything Alessio had ever done. Sophia, he said quietly. You need to be careful. Of what? Of me. Of this. He gestured between them. Of what I'm starting to feel every time I'm near you. Her heart stuttered. Marco. I know it's wrong. You're my brother's wife. This violates every rule we have. But God help me. I can't stay away from you. This love triangle is about to get even more dangerous. If you're as hooked as Sophia is trapped, don't forget to subscribe. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, and you're part of this dark romance family. Let's see what happens next. The first time Marco kissed her, it was an accident. A charity gala. Too much champagne. Alessio disappeared for a business call that stretched into an hour. Marco found Sophia on the balcony, shivering in her evening gown, and offered his jacket. You'll freeze out here, he said, draping it over her shoulders. Better than freezing in there. Sophia gestured to the ballroom where Chicago's elite pretended the Morettis weren't criminals. At least out here, I don't have to pretend. Pretend what? That I'm happy. That this marriage is real. That I'm not dying a little more every day in that penthouse. She laughed bitterly. Your brother got what he wanted. A wife who looks good in photos and doesn't cause problems. Congratulations to him. Sophia. Do you know what the worst part is? Tears burned her eyes. I thought maybe eventually, he'd see me as human. That the ice would crack. That somewhere under the monster was a man who could care about something other than the family business. But I was wrong. He'll never see me as anything but a debt payment. Marco's hands came up to frame her face, his touch infinitely gentle. Then he's a fool. Marco, don't. A fool, Marco repeated. Who can't see what's right in front of him. You're brilliant and brave and so fucking beautiful it hurts to look at you. Any man would be lucky to have your heart. And Alessio just wastes it. I never gave him my heart. No. Marco's thumb brushed away a tear. But I think you might be giving it to someone else. And that terrifies me, Bella, because I can't have it. I can't have you. Then why are you looking at me like that? Like what? Like you want to burn the world down for me. Marco's laugh was pained. Because I do. I would. God help me, Sophia. I would destroy everything, my family, my brother, my own soul, if it meant you could be happy. The kiss happened in the space between words. Desperate and inevitable, his mouth claiming hers with a tenderness that shattered every wall she'd built. This was nothing like Alessio's cold, performative touch. This was fire and need and something dangerous blooming in the space where it absolutely shouldn't exist. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back in. We can't, Sophia whispered. I know. Alessio would kill us both. I know. Then why does this feel like the first right thing that's happened to me in months? Marco rested his forehead against hers. Because we're both fucked, Bella. Completely and utterly fucked. They stayed like that for a long moment, clinging to each other in the darkness, knowing they were crossing a line that would destroy them both. When Alessio found them 10 minutes later, they were carefully separated, properly distant. But something in Alessio's eyes said he knew. He always knew. The affair, if you could call stolen moments and desperate kisses an affair, lasted 6 weeks. 6 weeks of Marco showing up at the gallery with coffee and excuses. 6 weeks of secret meetings in hotels they shouldn't be in. 6 weeks of falling for a man she absolutely couldn't have while married to a man who'd kill them both for the betrayal. But Sophia was addicted to it. To him. To the way Marco looked at her like she was precious instead of purchased. The way he touched her like she might break instead of assuming she was already broken. With Marco, she felt human again. With Alessio, she felt like property. The contrast was destroying her. "We have to stop," Sophia said one afternoon in a hotel room across town. They hadn't even had sex yet, just kissed, talked, held each other like drowning people clinging to driftwood. "This is insane. When Alessio finds out." "If," Marco corrected, pulling her closer. "If he finds out." "He's not stupid, Marco. You said it yourself, he sees things others don't. How long before he realizes?" "Let him." The words came out fierce. "Let him see. Let him know that his wife chose someone who actually gives a damn about her over a man who treats her like a chess piece. He'll kill you. Maybe. But I'll die happy, knowing I had this. Had you. Even for a little while." Sophia pulled back, studying Marco's face, handsome, earnest, dangerously sincere. "This is why I'm falling for you, you know. Because you're reckless enough to mean that." "You're falling for me?" His smile was devastating. "Don't let it go to your head." "Too late." Marco kissed her again, slow and thorough. "I fell for you the night I gave you that phone. Maybe even before that. The moment I saw you in the hospital, about to be sacrificed to my family's greed. And I couldn't do a damn thing to stop it. You're stopping it now. Every moment with you. Every time you make me feel like I matter, that's you stopping it." Marco's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression went from soft to stone in seconds. "What?" Sophia asked, fear spiking. "Alessio. Family meeting. Mandatory attendance." Marco's eyes met hers, dark with dread. "Including you." The Moretti family estate was a fortress of old-world elegance and new-world security. Sophia had been there twice, once for the wedding reception, once for Sunday dinner. Both times, the place had felt like a beautiful prison. Tonight, it felt like a tomb. Don Vittorio sat at the head of the massive dining table. Alessio to his right, cold and still. Marco to his left, tension radiating from every line of his body. And Sophia, seated directly across from her husband. Feeling like a bug under a microscope. "Thank you all for coming," Don Vittorio began in Italian. Sophia's language lessons with Marco were paying off. She understood most of it now. "We have a situation that requires family discussion." Alessio's eyes never left Sophia's face. Predatory. Knowing. "It has come to my attention," the Don continued, "that there has been impropriety within the family. A betrayal of trust and honor." Sophia's blood turned to ice. They knew. Somehow, they knew about her and Marco. "Papa," Marco started. "I can explain." "You will explain nothing." Don Vittorio's voice cracked like a whip. "You will sit. You will listen. And then you will accept the consequences of your choices." Marco's jaw clenched, but he obeyed. Don Vittorio turned to Sophia. "My dear, I must apologize. When we brought you into this family, we promised you would be protected, honored, treated with the respect a Moretti wife deserves." "I don't understand." "No. You wouldn't." The Don's expression was almost kind. "Because you didn't know the truth. None of us did, until very recently." Alessio stood, moving around the table with lethal grace. He stopped behind Sophia's chair, his hands coming down on her shoulders, not comforting, controlling. "Tell her, Papa," Alessio said quietly. "Tell her what we discovered." Don Vittorio pulled out a folder, slid it across the table to Sophia. 3 weeks ago, I asked Alessio to investigate some irregularities in our family finances. Money disappearing, shipments going missing, information leaking to authorities. We had a traitor in the organization." Sophia's hands shook as she opened the folder. Financial records. Surveillance photo. Transaction histories. All pointing to one person. Marco. "No. Sophia, breathe. That's not possible." "It's all there," Alessio said from behind her, his voice devoid of emotion. "Marco has been feeding information to the FBI for 18 months. Stealing from the family. planning to testify against us in exchange for immunity. He's lying. Sophia turned in her seat to look up at Alessio. Your brother would never. Wouldn't he? Alessio's smile was razor-sharp. My dear, sweet, naive wife. Did you really think Marco developed feelings for you organically? That his concern for your well-being was genuine? The room tilted. Alessio. Marco's voice was warning, dangerous. No. Alessio's hands tightened on Sophia's shoulders. She deserves the truth. All of it. Don Vittorio took over, his tone almost gentle. Marco approached you because we asked him to, my dear. We suspected you might become difficult. Unhappy with the arrangement. Alessio suggested Marco befriend you, make you feel less isolated, keep you compliant. That's not true, Marco said fiercely. Papa, that's not. Isn't it? Alessio challenged. You were assigned to her, Fratello. Ordered to ensure our investment didn't run or cause problems. Everything that happened between you, the coffee, the conversations, the concern, it was all part of the job. Sophia felt like she was drowning. Marco. He looked at her, and she saw the truth in his eyes before he even spoke. It started that way, Marco admitted quietly. Alessio asked me to keep an eye on you. Make sure you adjusted. But Sophia, I swear to God, everything after that first week was real. The feelings, the connection, everything. Liar. Don Vittorio slammed his fist on the table. You think we're fools? That we didn't notice you spending every spare moment with her? Disappearing to hotels? You weren't protecting the family investment, you were stealing it. Because I love her. Marco was on his feet, the confession ripping out of him. Yes, I was assigned to watch her. Yes, it started as a job. But somewhere along the way, I fell in love with her. Actually, truly, madly in love with a woman I could never have. So yes, I'm a traitor, but not to the family. To my own fucking heart. Alessio's laugh was cold. How touching. The underboss falls for his brother's wife. Like a bad movie. You don't want her. Marco's fury was incandescent. You never did. She's a person, Alessio, not a contract to fulfill. She deserves to be loved, cherished, protected. She deserves what I say she deserves. She's my wife. On paper. In that penthouse in your life, she's nothing but a ghost you ignore. I gave her what you wouldn't, attention, care, actual fucking human decency. You gave her treason. Don Vittorio's pronouncement cut through the argument like a blade. And the penalty for treason in this family is death. Sophia's world stopped. Papa, no Marco estarted. You will be executed tomorrow at dawn. The Don's voice was final. Your body will be disposed of in the lake. And Sophia, he turned to her, almost apologetic. You will remain Alessio's wife. This unfortunate complication will be forgotten. Life will continue. No. Sophia stood, her voice shaking but clear. You can't do this. My dear, we can do whatever. I'll testify. The words came out before she fully thought them through. Against all of you. Everything I've seen, heard, witnessed in this family. I'll go to the FBI, tell them everything, burn this whole organization to the ground. Alessio's hands wrapped around her throat from behind, not squeezing, just holding. A reminder of how easily he could kill her. You won't, he said quietly in her ear. Because you're not stupid. You know what happens to people who betray the Morettis. I don't care. Sophia's voice was steady despite the fear flooding her system. You kill Marco, I destroy everything. Your choice. The room went silent. Don Vittorio studied her with new interest. You would risk everything for him? A man you've known mere months? Yes. Even knowing he approached you under false pretenses? That his initial interest was manufactured? Even knowing that? Sophia met the Don's gaze without flinching. Because what came after was real. I know it was. And I won't watch you kill him for the crime of actually caring about someone in this godforsaken family. Alessio's grip on her throat tightened fractionally, then released. He walked around to face her, his expression unreadable. You would choose him, he said quietly. Even after everything you know. Even understanding the consequences. You would choose my brother over your own life. Every time. For a long moment, Alessio just looked at her. Then impossibly he smiled. A real smile, the first she'd ever seen on his face. Finally, he murmured. Finally she shows some fire. Alessio. Don Vittorio sounded confused. Alessio turned to his father. Papa, I believe we've tested her enough. Don't you? The world tilted again. What? Sophia breathed. It was all a test, Marco said quietly from across the table. The fury was gone from his face, replaced by something gentler. Sadder. From the very beginning. Everything. Sophia's knees gave out. She collapsed back into the chair, staring between the three men in horror. You see, Don Vittorio explained, pulling the folder back, when Antonio Russo offered you as payment, Alessio had an idea. A test, if you will, to determine what kind of woman you truly were. A test, Sophia repeated numbly. The marriage was real, Alessio said, sitting down beside her. Closer than he'd ever voluntarily been. The contract, the debt, the ceremony, all real. But the cold husband act? The neglect? That was performance. Why? The word came out broken. Because I needed to know if you were just another socialite looking for money and status. Or if you had substance. Strength. Alessio's dark eyes held hers. I needed to know if you would fight back. So you what? Tortured me for months to see if I'd break. I protected you, Alessio corrected. By making myself the villain, I gave Marco the opening to be the hero. To show you kindness, earn your trust, see who you really were when you thought you were safe. Sophia turned to Marco, betrayal crushing her chest. And you? You knew? From the beginning, you knew this was all fake? Marco's expression was pained. Not fake. Strategy. Sophia, I was supposed to befriend you, yes. Alessio and I agreed he'd be the cold husband, I'd be the caring brother-in-law. And together we'd figure out if you were someone who could be trusted with the truth about this family. What truth? That we're not what you think we are, Don Vittorio said. The Morettis have been working with the FBI for 3 years, my dear. We feed them information on rival families in exchange for immunity. We've helped bring down some of the worst criminals in this city. Sophia's mind reeled. Your FBI informants. Confidential informants. Alessio corrected. And only a handful of people know. Which is why we needed to be absolutely certain you could be trusted before we brought you in. So the cold marriage, the neglect, Marco's attention, all of it was to test me? To protect you, Marco insisted. Sophia, if you'd known the truth from the beginning, you could have been killed. Rival families, corrupt cops, other criminals euro, they all want us dead. We needed to make sure you were strong enough, smart enough, and loyal enough to survive in our world before we trusted you with the truth. And the evidence against Marco? The accusations. All fabricated, Don Vittorio admitted. Tonight was the final test. We needed to see if you would fight for him. If you would risk everything to protect someone you loved. And you did. Sophia stood on shaking legs. You people are insane. We're careful, Alessio corrected. There's a difference. You tortured me for months. I kept my distance for months. Alessio stood too, blocking her path to the door. There's a difference, Principessa. And if you'd actually paid attention instead of assuming I was a monster, you would have noticed. Noticed what? That I never actually hurt you. Never insulted you. Never touched you inappropriately or treated you like property except in public, where appearances matter. Alessio stepped closer, his voice dropping. You assumed I was cold because I gave you space. Because I let you work, let you have independence. Let you find your own strength instead of smothering you with the obsessive possessiveness you expected from a mafia husband. You ignored me. I respected you. Another step. I gave you room to breathe, to be yourself, to figure out if you could be happy in this life without me forcing it. And when Marco started falling for you, really falling, not just playing his part, I let it happen. Why? Sophia's voice broke. Because I wanted to see what you would do, Alessio said softly. Would you run? Would you manipulate him? Would you use his feelings to try to escape? Or would you fall back, despite every reason not to? I fell because he was kind to me, Sophia whispered. Because in a world where you made me feel worthless, he made me feel seen. No. Alessio's hand came up to cup her face, the first gentle touch he'd ever given her. You fell because Marco is everything I pretended not to be. Warm, open, easy to love. But Principessa, his thumb brushed over her cheekbone. What if I told you the cold husband was the act? And this is who I really am? Sophia's breath caught. I don't understand. I'm saying the test is over. The walls are down. And you need to make a real choice now, Sophia. Not between me and Marco as we pretended to be, but between us as we really are. He stepped back, and Marco was suddenly there beside him. Two brothers standing side by side, both looking at her with an intensity that made her heart race. We both fell for you, Marco said quietly. It wasn't supposed to happen. The plan was to test you, determine if you could be trusted, and then Alessio would warm up and give you a real marriage. But then I started spending time with you, Marco continued, and I saw all the things Alessio described, but I didn't believe. Your strength, your wit, your refusal to be broken. And I fell. Completely, irrevocably fell. And I watched it happen, Alessio added, and realized that somewhere in all the strategy and testing and performance, I'd fallen too. For the woman who signed a contract to save her father, who walked into a marriage with a monster without flinching, who chose love over survival when it came to protecting Marco. Sophia looked between them, her mind struggling to process. So now what? You both want me. Yes, they said in unison. That's not how this works. You can't both. We can, Don Vittorio interrupted, still seated at the head of the table. In our world, Cara, unconventional arrangements are more common than you think. Alessio is your husband legally. Marco is your husband in heart. There's no reason you can't have both. That's insane. Is it? Alessio challenged. You love Marco. I saw it tonight when you were willing to die to protect him. But you were also attracted to me from the beginning. I saw that too. Even through the fear and resentment. You wanted the monster to be more than he seemed. And now I am, Alessio continued. More than the cold husband. More than the test. I'm a man who fell for his wife while trying not to. Who watched her fall for his brother and couldn't even be angry because Marco deserved her love. Who now wants to give her a choice we never gave her before. What choice? Marco took her left hand. Alessio took her right. Choose both of us, Marco said. Be Alessio's wife in the eyes of the world and the law. Be mine in the quiet moments, the stolen afternoons, the nights when you need warmth instead of ice. Be ours, Alessio finished. Completely. Fully. With no more tests, no more games, no more lies. Just three people trying to build something real in a world that says we can't. Sophia stared at their joined hands, Marco's warm, Alessio's cool, both holding her like she was something precious instead of purchased. And if I say no, she whispered. If I can't do this? Then the marriage ends. Alessio said simply. Your father's debt is forgiven. You walk away free. We won't stop you. We'll let you go, Marco agreed. Even though it'll destroy us both. But if you say yes, Alessio's dark eyes held hers. You get everything. Protection, power, wealth. But more than that, you get two men who will worship you. Who will kill for you. Who will build a life around you that's worthy of the strength you've shown. This is crazy, Sophia breathed. Yes, both brothers agreed. You're asking me to share myself between you. To love you both. To build a life that breaks every rule. Yes. Why? She looked between them, seeing them clearly for the first time. Alessio cold steel with fire underneath. Marco warm flame with steel at his core. Both broken. Both dangerous. Both impossibly, inexplicably hers if she wanted them. Because we're already sharing you, Marco said gently. Have been since the moment I fell in love with my brother's wife. The only question is whether we do it in shadows and shame, or in light and truth. And because you deserve the choice, Alessio added. For once in this whole fucked up situation, you deserve to choose what you want. Not what we want. Not what the family needs. What you want. Sophia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of their hands, the impossible decision, the absolute insanity of what they were proposing. She should run. Should reject them both. Should take the freedom they were offering and never look back. But when she opened her eyes and looked at them, at Alessio's fierce intensity and Marco's gentle hope, she knew what her heart had already decided. "I want both of you," she heard herself say. "God help me, I want both of you." 3 months later, Sophia stood in the penthouse that no longer felt like a prison, watching the Chicago sunset paint the sky in shades of crimson and gold. Life with 2 husbands, one legal, one of the heart, was complicated, messy, unconventional in ways that would scandalize anyone who knew the truth. But it worked. Alessio had thawed, letting her see the man beneath the monster. He was still cold sometimes, still calculating, still deadly when the family business demanded it. But with her he was different. Protective without being possessive. Passionate without being cruel. He taught her the family business, included her in decisions, treated her like a partner instead of a pawn. Marco was warmth and laughter and stolen moments that made her heart sing. He was morning coffee and late-night conversations, and the one who held her when the weight of their unconventional life became too much. Together, they were balance. Ice and fire. Strategy and emotion. Steel and silk. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. "Deep thoughts, Principessa?" Alessio's voice came from behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. "Just thinking about how strange life is." Sophia leaned back into him. 6 months ago, I was signing a contract that I thought would destroy my life. Now you run a multimillion-dollar money laundering operation through your art gallery. You're sleeping with 2 men who'd kill each other if you asked, and you're one of the most powerful women in Chicago's underworld. Alessio pressed a kiss to her temple. "Strange indeed." "You forgot terrified," Sophia added. "I'm also terrified most of the time. That's what keeps you alive in our world. Fear is healthy." Marco appeared from the bedroom, his hair still wet from the shower. "Are we having a philosophical discussion about fear? Because I have opinions." "You have opinions about everything," Alessio said dryly, but there was affection in his voice. The brothers had found their own balance, united by their love for the same woman instead of divided by it. Only because someone needs to balance out your doom and gloom. Marco shot back, coming to stand on Sophia's other side. He pressed a kiss to her other temple, sandwiching her between them. "You okay, Bella?" "I'm perfect," Sophia said, and meant it. Completely, impossibly perfect. "Good." Alessio's arms tightened. "Because we have a family dinner tonight, and you know how my father gets when we're late. He gets drunk and tells embarrassing stories about your childhood?" Sophia grinned. "Exactly." Marco laughed. "Last time he told the story about Alessio crying at his first communion, because he thought Jesus was watching him from the cross." "I was 6, Alessio said with dignity. "And it was terrifying." Sophia turned in their arms, looking up at both of them. These 2 impossible men who'd somehow become her entire world. "I love you both," she said quietly. "I know I don't say it enough, but I do. Even when you're testing me. Even when you're infuriating. Even when this whole situation makes my head spin. I love you both." "We know," they said in unison, then looked at each other and laughed. Alessio's hand came up to cup her face. "You chose us, Principessa. When you could have run. When you could have chosen just one of us. When you could have walked away from this insanity, you chose both. We'll spend the rest of our lives proving you made the right choice. Even if we drive you crazy in the process," Marco added, his smile soft and true. "Especially then," Sophia agreed. The penthouse door burst open. Don Vittorio stood there, flanked by guards, his expression grim. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "Antonio Russo is dead. Murdered. And the killer left a message." Sophia's blood ran cold. "What message?" Don Vittorio held up a photograph. Sophia, Alessio, and Marco together. Taken through a window. Recent. And written across it in blood-red ink. *, the contract is void. She's mine now. *. The 3 of them moved in perfect synchrony, Alessio pushing Sophia behind him, Marco drawing a weapon, both brothers creating a wall of protection around the woman they loved. Alessio's voice was death itself. "We don't know yet. But whoever it is knows about your arrangement. Knows about Sophia. And they just declared war on the Moretti family." Sophia's hands clenched into fists. She'd been tested by this family. had fallen in love with two men who shouldn't have been hers, had built a life in the darkness that somehow felt like light. And now someone wanted to take it all away. Let them come, she said quietly, stepping out from behind Alessio. I chose this life. I chose both of you. I chose the family. And I'll fight for it. Alessio's smile was sharp and deadly. That's my wife. Marco's was warm and fierce. That's our queen. Don Vittorio's approving nod said everything. Welcome to the real family business, Cara. Now let's find out who's stupid enough to threaten a Moretti. 6 months later, the threat had come from a rival family, one that thought the Morettis had gone soft with their FBI cooperation. They'd been wrong. Spectacularly, violently wrong. Sophia had learned exactly what her husbands were capable of when someone threatened what they loved. It had been brutal, efficient, and absolutely final. Now, sitting in the art gallery she'd transformed into one of the city's premier contemporary art venues and most successful money laundering operations, Sophia reflected on how far she'd come. From terrified bride to Mafia queen. From one reluctant husband to two devoted partners. From victim to victor. The door chimed. Both Alessio and Marco walked in together, a sight that still made her heart skip. Even after months of this unconventional arrangement. We have news, Alessio said without preamble. Good news or bad news? Sophia asked, setting down her champagne. That depends on your perspective, Marco hedged. Just tell me. You're pregnant, they said in unison. The gallery spun. What? 3 weeks along, Alessio confirmed, producing a medical file. Dr. Castellano called with the results of your last checkup. Congratulations, Principessa. Sophia couldn't form words. But we've been careful. Not careful enough, apparently. Marco's grin was huge. You're having a baby, Bella. Whose? The question came out before she could stop it. Both brothers looked at each other, then at her. Does it matter? Alessio asked quietly. Legally it's mine. But in every way that counts. It's ours, Marco finished. All three of ours. Just like everything else in this beautiful, twisted life we've built. Sophia pressed a hand to her stomach, tears streaming down her face. Happy tears. Terrified tears. Overwhelmed tears. We're having a baby, she whispered. We're having a baby, both brothers confirmed, surrounding her, holding her, loving her. And in that moment, Sophia Russo Moretti knew that every choice she'd made, every risk taken, every rule broken, every impossible decision had led her exactly where she was meant to be. In the arms of two men who loved her enough to share her. Building a family that shouldn't exist but somehow did. Creating light in the darkness. And burning bright enough to illuminate them all. And that's the story of how Sophia Russo chose both brothers. How a forced marriage became real love twice over. How a woman caught between two men realized she didn't have to choose. She could have both. In the world of Velvet and Vendetta, love doesn't follow rules. It breaks them. Burns them down. Builds something new from the ashes. If Sophia, Alessio, and Marco's unconventional love story captivated you, hit that subscribe button and join our journey to 1,000 subscribers. We're creating a community where dark romance lovers can indulge in stories that don't shy away from the complicated, the forbidden, and the downright impossible. Comment below. Team Alessio or Team Marco? Or are you like Sophia, choosing both and refusing to apologize for it? Next week, another dark romance that'll consume you. Another story where love is dangerous, passion is deadly, and happily ever after comes with a body count. Until then, remember, in Velvet and Vendetta, the heart wants what it wants, even if it wants everything.